Hi everyone. I just wanted to walk through lessons 5 and 6. Now that we've had a chance to make an attempt ourselves, I want to give you a step-by-step of what you should have done so that if you were struggling, you have time to catch up. I'm going to show you how quickly you can actually do all of this, assuming you've already read the chapter. Reading the chapter should really be the long part for this session. A lot of people really shut down when they found something wasn't exactly the same. The only thing that I know of that's totally missing is that history dialogue. And if you looked at the steps for the history dialogue, it basically just had you look at it. And so that really shouldn't have stopped you from continuing on. It's important to remember that in this class, a lot of what we're teaching is how to think about these problems and how to go about solving problems with the resources you have, and not kind of letting yourself think that because I have to look for my own information or because something is slightly different, or we don't have step-by-step instructions, that these problems are unsolvable. It is important for us to remember that the information we need is there. It's just not always presented in the form we want. And that really reflects the reality that we're going to get into after school, that you'll be given tasks that say what they need you to accomplish, but won't tell you how to accomplish it. We've given fairly good instructions that are only slightly different, and I'm going to walk you through and show you what it should look like. So getting started, let's look at our actual assignments. You see that we've got the description here. We've got instructions for data files here. We had the video that talked you through. So if you didn't know what instructions to follow, this video should have told you what instructions you needed to follow. And then if not, the actual instruction tells you the headings that you need to look for. So these are all the steps, which seem like a lot of steps. But as we go through that, we realize these are not actually a lot of steps. There's only a few things that we really need to do in order to set up our project for the in-class example. And we're setting up the project for our in-class example because we want to follow those same steps, or want to have followed those same steps to set up our own final project example. So starting in the beginning, we have the data files. I've got them unzipped into a folder right here. This is the data file you would have downloaded. Some of you asked this file for me directly. Most of you were able to figure out how to get it off. And when we unzip it, we have all these little chapter data files individually. And I unzipped all of those, the Dreamweaver ones, right here, so I have them to access later, because it'll sit here and it'll ask me, hey, where are your data files? You need to go get this specific data file. So I have those unzipped right here. If we look in our book in chapter 1, after reading through chapter 1, we get to the end of the lessons and we get to a heading like this, the one that is listed right here, Start Dreamweaver, Start Dreamweaver. Tells you how to do it in Adobe, tells you how to do it on Windows, tells you how to do it on Macintosh. So we have Start a Dreamweaver. Ta-da! One step down the drain, one step in the books. Then we can read through chapter 2 and we get to open a web page and view basic page elements. And all this had you do was look in your data files, look at the D1 or DW1 underscore 1 file, and kind of go through it just to show you the pieces of Dreamweaver and how to find help. Now, what a lot of you did was you kept going with this file instead of following the steps in the next section to set up your own materials. So we go into lesson 3 and skip all the way through it. We will eventually get to select the location for your website. It says to open the Files panel if necessary to view the contents, select a driver folder, navigate to it, and create a new folder. Then it talks about updating IP addresses, but for right now, we will have selected the drive folder where we're going to create our website. Flip over here to Dreamweaver. We look in our folder tree, and I say on my D drive, data, I have some documents where my material is located, and I can come in here and say new folder and install my information here. Let's expand this out. Oh, accidentally. There we go. Renaming it. And I'm going to call it, they say striped umbrella, but I'm going to call it class example, just so I can be really clear what I was trying to do later and I can find it when I need to. So this is my class example right here, this folder here. Now we switch back to our instructions, scroll down, it says create a local site folder. Actually, no, that was picking the folder and then create a folder here. It tells you to select that place, verify that you are where you want, give it a name, they say striped umbrella, and create the folder. Then set up the website. On the site menu bar, select new site, select site in the category list, and give it a name. So we come over to our Dreamweaver again. We can either click on manage sites here or site, new site. And from here, we need to navigate into that folder, class example, select it in the local site folder, give it a name in class example. Y'all's can be striped umbrellas. It'll be final project when you need to do the final project. And so then we save it. And now we have the folder in this drop down list in the files menu that we need in class example. Switch back to our instructions. We don't need to set up the server access. We're going to be doing that in about a week. So we get to the instructions on adding a folder and pages. Go through our lessons, blah, blah, blah. Oops. Go through our lessons, and we get to adding pages on a website right before the skills review. And this is what threw a lot of people off, is we tried to jump down into these project builders instead of following the in-lesson examples. I'm working with our publisher to get better page numbers so that it's a lot easier to tell you where exactly these instructions are. But right now we have to go by the lists and these are instructions. So it says, okay, open the site in the files panel, create a new folder, call it assets, and then we're going to add the folder and call it the default images folder by clicking the site menu pop-up and click manage sites, advanced settings. So let's do that. We come back to our Dreamweaver. We say new folder, call it assets. This is where we're going to put our images. We can click on manage sites in class example. And then in advanced settings, right here at the top, it says default image folder. Open it up, pick your file, hit save. Now you're done. It knows where its images are always going to be in this assets folder. And that is setting the default image folder. Then these are the instructions that people seem to start falling apart on. Open D1_2 from where you store your data files. So I say open, find my data files, which are for me up here in my Wake Tech personal drive, CTI 110. Go into my data files, chapter 1, open D1_2, and we get a blank file that looks, not a blank, but a file that looks kind of like this. And we say save as, and put it into the file that we just created, which we're now going to need to navigate to, D, data, documents, spring, class example, and call it index.html. Say no to update links, because our instructions say no to update links. And now we've got, just as they show in the book, a blank file that doesn't have the CSS in it. It doesn't have images because none of those are in our new location. We have this blank file to get us started. Back to the instructions. It tells us to copy some of these files. So it tells us which files we're going to copy and tells us to save the files in the site folder. So browse to those data files and copy these over into the local folder. Going back over to my instructions, or not my instructions, my file explorer. I've got boilerplate, respond, and Sue styles, which I can hit Control C and copy. And then I'm going to open up a new window. Data, actually I don't need to open a new window, I'll just navigate to it over here. Data, documents, SP3, CTI 110, class example, paste. And drop those files down here. Back to our instructions. It tells us to right click, hit a new file, type about us, and have a new blank file in there, and then add these other files that we're gonna need. So we go into Dreamweaver, come over here, we can refresh and we see the files that popped up, and we can say new file about us. Then we can say new file, spa, new file, activities, new file, cafe, new file, cruises, new file, fishing. Click the refresh button if you need to. Now it'll put them all in alphabetical order and it should look just like the example. But we haven't yet copied these in here, so maybe I missed that step. Where was that? Oh, repeat step 1 and copy these banners in here. Copy the banner, copy the logo from the assets folder to the assets folder. So come back over to our assets folder. And I'm just going to go back to where I was. Come into the assets folder and grab the SU logo, the SU banner, copy and paste them, then come back into my documents for spring, instructions, class example, assets, paste. And now we see, okay, now we look like the image in the book. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, but it doesn't really look like the image in the book. The only real main difference is the fact that we've got a light theme set. So let me see if I can find the theme real quick. I think it's under interface. If I set it back to the light theme, you see that suddenly, kind of magically, it looks just like the book. Maybe not identical, but very minor differences between how the book looks. Like dark theme makes more of a difference than actual updates to the program. This is something that's slightly different. And anyone that asked me about it, I tried to help. It talked about how we need to set the page title and where page titles are going to be. We'll get to that in the next chapter. So in chapter 2, it assumes that you have already set up this part of your work and you have this open. You have these all set up. You're ready to go. So we come back into chapter 2, lesson 1, go to the bottom of lesson 1, we get to edit page title. So this confused some people because it is no longer in the document bar right where it shows us, but it has been moved to the properties bar, or you can find it in the actual code itself. The title we're talking about is this title right here, which is the title that goes into the title bar when you open it in Chrome or when you open it in another browser. It is not this banner image right here. This is just a picture that says the striped umbrella. So a lot of people's questioning and saying, well, I typed something else into the title here and I can't find it. I have opened the properties window, as I believe I emailed out, as I warned you guys in the previous video. I've opened the properties window, and so my document title is now right here in my properties window, and I can change it to whatever I want. And you'll see it changes in the code on line 10 here, but you don't actually see it until you open up Google Chrome with its preview in browser functionality. So I can pop up this button, and it's not popping up on my screen. Or it's not popping up in my Cam Studio, but it is this button right here. It gives the option to view in Chrome, and that is where you'll see this title pop up. So this is where we are for chapter 2, lesson 1. We have changed the title. They give you some instructions on what you're supposed to have changed it to. You know, they say umbrella, and they say to say title, beach resort, spa, Eugene, Florida, whatever. The point is they wanted you to change the title. So the point was to find this title in the properties box. Similar with keywords, you can enter keywords by making sure that you're in the head here and say, click on insert. Oh, sorry, I have the right window open. Click on insert and then choose. I guess you just need to scroll down, insert keywords, blah, 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 type in keywords. Should be a comma separated list of keywords here, and it inserts this meta tag. You can see in the code view, it's got this meta tag open, and now you've put the keywords next to the other meta tags. You know, if you want to edit it manually, you can say something like spa, pool, resort, or for us in our personal websites, personal, portfolio, words like that as our keywords. They don't show up anywhere on the page. This meta tag is just for browsers, just for search engines to know what's on our page. So we've got the keywords, we've got the descriptions. We do the descriptions just like the keywords, and we have entered that. And then we need to go find our CSS Designer panel. So that is in this section right here, up at the top. So I click on Designer, and then I stretch this window open. It may be like this by default in a single column. I just stretch it open until the second column shows up. And this is what's going to answer a lot of the questions that people have been asking me about. How do I add CSS? This is what we're going to be using to add our CSS to our own personal websites as we build. It says select the SU styles, select fluid, and it'll show the properties of how it looks. And so this is walking us through the panel and just kind of looking at the way the panel works. So if I come over here, I select styles, select fluid, and show set shows me only the ones that are set. So background, it gives me background color, display, and width, and float, and clear. If I say unclick show set, it gives me all the properties that I might want to set on my layouts. Then we scroll down and find a color. So just pick a different color and put it in the box, and then they have you change it back. And that was where I said, okay, just do whatever you want that makes you have fun, makes you see what's going on. So we're going to take this color, make it a nice, soothing sea green, and now we have a sea green web page. Select boilerplate, select global, select body, and then save set a background color. And so we can come into our program, select boilerplate, select global. I don't even see a body in our boilerplate. So we can skip right over that one. Don't even see background color set on body in this global, so we're good. Just keep right on moving. We know we can keep right on moving because all it tells us to do is to look for it and remove it, and it's not there in the first place, so we're fine. We can look at all sources to see if there's a body. We say, hey, I don't see a body at all. So we're okay, and we can just move on with these instructions. Lesson 2 talks about importing text and formatting paragraphs. So when we enter text, it tells us to click after the words you want to go home and then press enter. So we come back to our Dreamweaver. Sorry, let me show you that. It says under enter text, put the insertion point directly after want to go home, press enter. So you click after you want to go home. Kind of hard to see the insertion point. Let's come over to design view, hit enter. Notice that when I hit enter by itself, it puts a new paragraph down in the code window. So when we just hit enter by itself, it's entering a new paragraph, and then we go back to our instructions and it tells us to basically enter this address and then hit shift and enter, so we add a line break instead of a new paragraph. So if we come over here, we can say 25 Beach Drive, shift enter. Notice that it put a line break down here and not a new paragraph in the code window. And then we just keep typing our address, some city, shift enter, some state, shift enter, ta-da. And we've now typed in an address, and this was supposed to be a phone number, so we say 555-555, some address, or some phone number right here. And now we have an address at the bottom. Compare that to what they say, and they say, oh, we were supposed to have typed the striped umbrella here and put our own BR, do lowercase to be consistent. Now we have a paragraph that has multiple lines in it. And it talks about formatting the text. So select the entire address, click on the HTML button, hit the italics button, and look at what it did. Come back over here, italics, It puts EM up here, EM down here, and wraps this entire thing in EM so it is all italics. Shows us other things. Click your design view to come back. And we're going to add a new page. So it says save this file or add an image. So save, click on the file menu, hit save as, and type spa, and we're going to overwrite this empty spa file that we created earlier. So let's save this. Save as spa.html. Do you want to overwrite it? Yes. And it says replace the content with content for the spa page, but we've now got it formatted so that we can do it. So select all the text except for the address and delete it. Place the insertion point in front of the address. And I'm going to hit enter and then come up into this empty paragraph right here and put my insertion point there. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing you that. So I delete it. I just Control Z out of here. I selected all of this stuff, hit delete, and now I'm in an empty paragraph in front of striped umbrella. We come back to our instructions. It says hit common, pick in the image list arrow and select image, and then look in the data 2 assets folder and select it. So we're going to make sure that we are in this with the striped umbrella in the address. Click on insert. Find our images up here at the top, image, and then we are going to navigate to those zip files that we had, CTI 110, examples, our unit 2 zip file in my chapter 2, look in chapter 2 in the assets, grab this logo and insert it. I had already copied it once, so it asked me, do you mean this file? We say yes, and it inserts it. The logo appears, it looks right. It says pick the logo, and in the property box, you get the alt text box. So I click here, and I see I get an alt text box down here, and I can say, this is my description of this image. Now, writing good alt text is a whole other topic, but I don't want to go into that here. We're just kind of showing you how to follow the instructions in the book at this point. Now we verify it did copy this into our assets folder, and it tells us to click between them and hit enter so the logo is above the striped umbrella. It says to copy and paste text next, so look in that same data file folder and look for a file called spa.txt. So in my data files folder, I have a spa.txt, and if you need to see it, that logo was right here. So it's in my spa.txt. I'm going to open this up. All I'm doing is I hit Control A, copy, come back over to my folder or to my Dreamweaver. It says put it to the right of the logo. Press enter to create a break, and then either hit Control V or edit paste, and it drops everything down. I noticed when I was showing out examples to the class, I had actually put it before the logo instead of after the logo, but walking you through it says after the logo, so that's what we're going to do. So we got this all pasted in. Then we start formatting the logo. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to show you the first couple things. We come into our Dreamweaver, pick this, and then we have a format drop down, and I say this is not a paragraph, this is an H1. Then we select messages, facials, body treatment, messages, H2, facials, treatment, body treatment, all H2, and then click outside to deselect. And then now we can compare. It says, okay, click after treatment, look at the difference. And so we see that it's set up mostly the same. We can go back into design view, come up to the top, and we hit tools, spell check, and it finds the word massage, and we change it to massage, hit change, spell check complete. And we jump on to our next step. We have a create a menu bar task. Tells us to open the index, place the insertion point in front of the word welcome. In the structure category, select navigation, and then have this pop-up box. My screen capture software is being a little funky today, and it's not showing the pop-up boxes, but it looks pretty much like the one in the diagram. You'll see it when it pops up for yourselves. So let's take a look at what we're doing. We come in here, click before welcome, insert, navigation, and I've got a pop-up window that it is not capturing for some reason. Looks like that. Ours does not have the fluid box that is supposed to be there. But we pick intro paragraph, hit OK, and then go back. Let me show you back to my Dreamweaver. And then it has inserted this content for class intro goes here. In our instructions, it tells us that we are going to type home about cafe activities with dashes. I'm just going to cut and paste from my book. Paste it right here. It says be careful not to delete around the placeholder text. Easy enough. And then we add links by clicking just each individual word and click the browse to file button and create a menu at the top. So we say home. Down here we've got this button right here, browse for file. And we say index, about us, about us. And the other thing we can do is click files here and just drag and drop by saying, okay, spa goes to spa and cafe goes to cafe and activities goes to activities. Finally, we create an email link by inserting it down at the bottom after the phone number. Select email link in the insert panel and type in the club manager and some text. Down to the bottom, email link. I'm going to hit Shift Enter, insert, and find email link in the drop down. And I say club manager some email, whatever they said it was. And we get a link that is a mail to link. Then it just says, okay, check out that our link in our links actually has a link there. So that's what we've linked externally to. These are the colors that we use in our website. These are the images that we use in our website. And that's it. Lesson 4 is the history panel, which isn't there anymore. So if you got this far, you're essentially done. Lesson 5 only tells us how to review our website by looking at the different sizes and test them in a browser. So we can do that, and it's by using these buttons down here. We don't have the different sizes. You can have sizes right here and say, okay, in an iPad, in an iPhone, this is what it would look like. Full size. And then this button right here clicks a menu that you won't be able to see on the screen. It lets us pop it open in Chrome. It asks us if we want to save first. So we save everything, load it up in Chrome. Let me pull that up for you. And we have this example. Notice when I type whatever I want in the title, it's up here in the title bar. It's not on the page down here. If we click on spa, it doesn't seem like it works in the test view. Unless I didn't save the spa page yet. So let me save my spa page. And then we see that, oh, look, it pops right up in the test example. And that's it. That's lesson 5 and 6. It just walks you through how to basically create a page, how to copy some assets in there, and to make sure that your site is set up properly. So if we look in here, now all of our site is here. Then what we needed to do for lesson 6 was follow basically these same steps to create our own site for ourselves to use for our final project. I'm going to talk about that in another video.